Chapter 977. In Mu Yang's eyes, this kind of magic treasure that can change size and fly is like a miracle. Miss, are you really not coming with me to Misty Cloud's sect? Wei Zi is worried and reluctant to let go of Mu Yang's hand, her eyes red. Isn't it better if we go to Misty Cloud's sect together? Alright, didn't I say I wouldn't cry? Why are you crying again? Mu Yang wipes her tears and smiles. Your master is already waiting for you. Go quickly. Wei Zi wipes her tears and reluctantly sits on the Misty Cloud's sect master's small flying boat. Misty Cloud's sect is a small sect, so the flying magic treasure they take out is certainly not very imposing. But Mu Yang is still excited when she sees Wei Zi sitting on it and disappearing into the sky. In a while, she will also sit on a flying magic treasure. She doesn't know what it feels like to fly in the sky like this. Yang, let's go too. Shi Qing's lazy voice comes into her ears. Mu Yang immediately comes back to herself and looks at Shi Qing expectantly. Master, what is our flying magic treasure? Flying sword? Godly traveling 1,000 miles boat? Or, spiritual light carpet? Flying magic treasure? Shi Qing looks at her inexplicably. Are you dreaming? Our sect is so poor, how can we afford to buy a flying magic treasure? If you really want a mount, here, this donkey, master will let you ride for a while. Mu Yang's face stiffens, and she slowly turns to look at the bald donkey that Shi Qing is pointing at. Under Shi Qing's beckoning, it lazily and slowly walks forward, its thin body slanting every 2 steps, as if it will fall at any time. Mu Yang swallows. Let's take this back to the sect. Yes. The cute youth Lan Luoyu jumps out from nowhere, grabs Mu Yang's sleeve, and says excitedly, Senior sister, don't worry. Don't think that green hair looks sick, it's actually very powerful. Even if it carries a person, it can go very fast, and this place is very close to the Xiaoyaro sect. When Master and I came here, it only took us half a month. Mu Yang only feels her vision go dark. Only half a month, and it's very close. She doesn't give up and asks again, is there no flying magic treasure in the sect? Even if it's just a small boat, how is that possible? Luo shook her head like a rattledrum without hesitation. That flying magic treasure is too expensive, and it costs a lot of crystals to maintain. The crystal stones used to nurture flying magic treasures are enough for our sect to chew for several years. Aya, senior sister, don't say any more. Let's go, or else we won't be able to reach the cheapest inn before nightfall. Mu Yang, hehe, is it too late for her to leave this sect now? Ha 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 ha. Junmu riding a donkey back, to think that you would have such a day, ha ha ha. Qi Huang's gloating laughter resounded in his mind, you don't even have a flying magic treasure, riding a donkey, ha 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 ha, Qi Huang. Mu Yang grits her teeth, do you really want to try the itchy zither set again? 7 Brilliance's laughter came to an abrupt halt. He then said indignantly, bastard, you only know how to use this to threaten me. Isn't it because you're useless? Up until now, you still haven't repaired the Tian Mo Qin. Otherwise, the Tian Mo Qin itself would be the best flight-type magical weapon. Mu Yan sneers and says, if you have the ability then tell me where the materials to repair the Tian Mo Qin are. If you don't have the ability then shut up. Chapter 978. Following that, she saw a red-dressed youth rolling on the grass. As he rolled, he laughed loudly, Junmu riding a donkey. Green hair's bald donkey, ha 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 ha. Mu Yang gritted her teeth. She would remember this and settle it all at once. Without a flying treasure, Mu Yang could only follow Shi Qing and Luo back to the sect. Originally, Mu Yang would rather die than sit on Green hair's bald donkey. However, she could not resist Shi Qing and Luo's enthusiasm, so she could only grit her teeth and sit on it. This made Qi Huang in the space laugh to the point of tears. As Mu Yang was thinking of how to teach this annoying item spirit a lesson, she suddenly felt a strange gaze from the sky. She looked up and saw the mountain breaking sect's flying treasure take off. The mountain breaking sect's flying treasure was very special. It was a luxurious boat pulled by a flying spiritual beast, the Golden Rock. And Liu Ruoxuan, who was standing at the bow of the boat, was looking down at her. Her eyes were filled with pity and slight disdain. Her eyes seemed to say, so what if you performed well in the sect selection? In the end, he still entered such a broken sect that did not even have a flying magic treasure. It was really pitiful and sad. Mu Yang was inexplicably unhappy. After Qian Feng vomited blood and fainted, the Li Fire sect hurriedly took him away. They did not even recruit a single disciple. But because of Qian Feng's departure, the Bright Moon sect was released. When these Bright Moon sect disciples learned that Liu Ruoxuan had become Jiang Dahai's disciple, a few secretly went to find Liu Ruoxuan, hoping to enter the mountain-breaking sect's inner sect. Who knew that Liu Ruoxuan would pretend not to know them and let the mountain-breaking sect disciples chase them away. When Wu Fengyi learned of this, she was furious and brought the Bright Moon sect disciples to argue with Liu Ruoxuan. It was unknown what Liu Ruoxuan said, but the mountain-breaking sect disciples felt that Liu Ruoxuan had been bullied, so they taught Wu Fengyi a lesson. Before Wu Fengyi left, she went to see Mu Yang and kowtowed to apologize, saying that the Bright Moon sect had wronged Mu Yang in the past. Mu Yang could not be bothered with them, so she got Weizi to chase them away. Before Wu Fengyi left, she said, one day, she will make Liu Ruoxuan pay the price. Mu Yang was not interested in the Bright Moon sect's grudges, but Liu Ruoxuan wanted to show off in front of her. What the hell is this woman? She's giving off a horrible stench. Suddenly, she heard Chi Huang's disgusted voice. Little Phoenix, what are you doing? Go and command that ugly rock. You must make that group of ugly things and that disgusting woman live a life worse than death. When Qiu heard this, he immediately shook his wings and said excitedly, Hey, beautiful sister, just you wait, Qiu will go and vent your anger for you immediately. Qiu has long disliked this stinky woman. With that, Qiu rushed out of the space and shot up into the sky like a meteor. The speed of the phoenix was simply too fast. There was only a streak of red light streaking across the sky. No one would notice the existence of Qiu. The ball flew to the body of the golden-winged rock. It was unknown what it did, but it quickly flew back. Just as she entered the space, Mu Yang heard screams coming from the distant sky. TSK, TSK, TSK. Judging from the direction and distance of the sound, it should be in the boundless swamp of the Mirror Moon mountain range. Chapter 979. Sixth sister, look, I dug out 2 steamed buns from Master's place, for you to eat. Looking at the youngster presenting the 2 black steamed buns to her like a treasure, the corner of Mu Yan's mouth twitches. The problem is, these are really just ordinary steamed buns, not some kind of spiritual food. She feels that she has to have a new understanding of the poverty of the sect. Although she's lamenting in her heart, Mu Yan still takes the steamed bun and naturally takes a bite. The steamed bun is dry and rough, it doesn't taste good at all, but Mu Yan doesn't dislike it. Seeing her like this, Luo Yu immediately grins, revealing 2 sharp little canine teeth. It's really indescribably cute. Mu Yan touches his head and hands him the remaining steamed bun. Luo Yu happily holds the steamed bun, gnawing on it like a little rabbit. Little senior, I'm telling you, I haven't eaten delicious food for a long time. If little Marshall uncle doesn't come back soon, we'll all starve to death. Little senior, have you ever eaten fragrant raw deer meat? Have you ever eaten crisp wolf leg? Slurp. I really want to eat it. Mu Yan's mind suddenly recalls the table after table of delicacies that Di Mingju personally cooked in the Yanwu continent. Her saliva unconsciously overflows. Di Mingju's craftsmanship is really getting better and better, even her own appetite has been spoiled by him. She clearly isn't the type of person to satisfy everyone's cravings, but now, besides Di Mingju's dishes, she feels that she can't eat anything else. Only, Mu Yan can't help but raise her head and look at the distant sky. When will she see Di Mingju again? There's also that fairy who claims to be Di Mingju's fiancé. She doesn't know where this man provoked such a romantic debt. When they meet, she must ask him properly. Shoshen continent. Achoo. Di Mingju, who has just opened his eyes from his cultivation, suddenly sneezes. His 2 sword-like eyebrows are wrinkled enough to kill a fly. He abruptly stands up and strides towards the door of the Soul Cultivation House. Jun Shong, oh, what are you doing now? Elder Chang throws himself at Di Mingju while crying his heart out. He hugs Di Mingju's thigh and says in a tearful voice, "Didn't you already promise that you'll stay in the soul recovery house to recuperate properly, and only leave when you're completely healed?" Di Mingju says coldly, "Get out, Ben Jun wants to see Muyan. Jun, you can't wait any longer." Elder Chang was on the verge of tears. "I've already divined for Miss June. Miss Jun has already passed her tribulation and is now very safe. This subordinate dares to guarantee with his life that nothing will happen to Miss June." Di Mingju looks with Jun with a cold gaze of his eyes. Of Jun will Jun one. Jun said. Jun he. Ming to walk. And starts. Elder Chang promptly pounces over, and hugs Di Mingju's leg once again. "Since you know that Miss Jun is fine, why do you still insist on looking for her right now? Jun, I of June Jun, Jun of Jun. Jun of hearing that Muyan will be sad." Di Mingju's footsteps stop. But his brows are still tightly knitted, and he says coldly, "Ben Jun can feel that Yang Yang is thinking of Ben Jun." Chapter 980. Di Mingju lowers his head and coldly looks at him. "Ben Jun doesn't care. No matter what, I must see Yang Yang. Or do you think that this insignificant soul cultivation house can hold Ben Jun?" As soon as Di Mingju's last words come out, Elder Chang immediately quivers and shivers. In order to prevent Di Mingju from leaving the soul cultivation house, Elder Chang, Han Yi, Xing Lang, and the others have indeed set up layer after layer of barriers outside the soul cultivation house. They're afraid that Jun Shong will disregard his own safety and insist on going to the Xiuzhe continent to find Muyan. But Elder Chang didn't expect that Di Mingju acts as if he doesn't know anything, but in fact, he knows everything very clearly. His face is pale, his body trembles slightly, and he can't help but sneak a glance at the corner. Han Yi and the others hiding in the corner can only come out, trembling with fear, and kneel in front of Di Mingju. "Jun Shong, I beg you to protect your body. Miss Jun cares about you so much, she likes you so much. If she finds out that you went to look for her without recuperating, she would certainly blame herself." Han Yi earnestly says. The corner of Di Mingju's mouth hooks up into a gentle smile. The coldness in his eyes seems to have disappeared without a trace when he said Miss Jun cares about you so much, she likes you so much. But very quickly, he sneers. "Do you think that Ben Jun can spare you by bringing up Muyan?" Han Yi quivers and shudders, his face collapsing. He thought that he could successfully deceive them. 1 month. Di Mingju slowly says, "If Ben Jun doesn't see Muyan within 1 month, then you'll have to wait for 10 years to not leave the purgatory pool. Don't." Han Yi is the first to scream. This subordinate has just come out of the purgatory pool. Elder Chang, Ying Mai, and the others are also distressed, at their wits' end. Di Mingju is too lazy to care about them. He returns to the only stone bed in the room and sits down. His fingers gently stroke the lines on his palm, and he softly murmurs, "Yang Yang, wait for me, I'll come find you soon." Suddenly, Di Mingju remembers something. He raises his head and says coldly, "Lung Qingwan's matter, how's it going?" Elder Chang regained his senses and quickly put away his bitter expression. He replied respectfully, "Don't worry, Your Majesty. The entire Shoshan continent already knows that you don't have a fiancé. That Lung Qingwan and the Tianyi men even offended the polar domain. Now, they're like street rats that everyone wants to beat up. But strangely, after Lung Yuexia came out of seclusion, she unexpectedly didn't remove Lung Qingwan's position as Tianyi men's young master. Instead, she wholeheartedly supported her." As Elder Chang spoke, a gossipy look appeared on his face. This subordinate once heard that Lung Qingwan was sect master Lung's illegitimate daughter. "I'm afraid that this matter isn't far from the truth. TSK, Tianyi men is as dirty and chaotic as ever. Di Mingju isn't interested in the Tianyi men's privacy. He's only concerned about whether or not he would let his Muyan suffer the slightest bit of grievance. In the future, if there's another Tom, Dick, or Harry woman who says she's Ben Jun's fiancé, do you know what to do?" Di Mingju coldly sweeps over with a knife-like gaze. The people below him immediately shivered and promised, "Don't worry, Jun Shong, We promise to clear away all obstacles for you, so that you can peacefully marry Miss June. Chapter 981. Shouxian Continent, Auction House. Lung Qingwan and her maidservant have just bid for the spirit grass and are about to leave. Suddenly, someone bumps into them, and the veil on her face falls down. Yo, come and take a look at who this is. Isn't this the young master of Tianyi Men, one of the 4 great beauties of Shouxian Continent, Qingwan Xianzi? You're wrong. Don't you know that Qingwan Xianzi has already been expelled from the 4 great beauties? Hihi, what qualifications does a woman disliked by Di Jun of Polar Domain have to be called one of the 4 great beauties? What's more, look at her face, it doesn't look very moving, does it? Compared to the other 3 great beauties, she doesn't even deserve to carry their shoes. Lung Qingwan's complexion turns green and white. She points at the people who are humiliating her, gnashing her teeth. You, don't go too far. How did we go too far? Someone sneers. At that time, your Tianyi men relied on the support of Polar Domain to strut around. Why didn't you think you went too far? Now that the tables have turned, you say we went too far? With her appearance and aptitude, she dares to take a portrait of Di Jun, truly shameless. Tianyi men's vitality was greatly damaged in the war 1,000 years ago, and it was already a third-rate sect. Thanks to the care of Polar Domain, it was able to gain a firm foothold in Shouxian Continent. Who would have thought that this woman not only doesn't know gratitude, but also spread rumors that she is the future mistress of Polar Domain, tarnishing Di Jun's innocence, and even provoking internal strife in Polar Domain. Now that she has ended up in this state, she really deserves it. Each sentence of ridicule is more unpleasant than the last, reaching Lung Qingwan's ears. What makes her even more furious is that these people are belittling her appearance. Clearly, a few months ago, she was still the Qingwan Xianzi that everyone admires, the future mistress of Polar Domain. Clearly, she was one of the 4 great beauties, the most beautiful and outstanding woman in Shouxian Continent. Why? Why did everything change in just a few months? It's all because she lost Di Mingju's love. Lung Qingwan madly pushes through the crowd, flying into the sky. Like a stray dog, she flees back to Tianyi Men. At the entrance of the trade fair, everyone points at her as she leaves, full of disdain and disgust. There were also people who fantasized that if the Supreme Emperor didn't like Lung Qingwan, what kind of pharaoh-like woman would he like? Could it be the other 3 of the Shouxian Continent 4 great beauties? When Lung Qingwan returned to Tianyi Men, she rushed into her room and smashed everything in the room. No, I can't go on like this. I have to go find Di Mingju. I want to win back his favor. Lung Qingwan muttered nervously, pretending to be crazy. Back when the emperor doted on me, how glorious was I? How envied was I by others? It's all because of that slut, Jun Muyan. She seduced the emperor and caused me to lose his favor. But now that that bitch is dead, as long as I can attract the monarch's attention again and win back her favor, all the glory she once had will be mine. Yes, I'm going to find Di Jun and tell him that that slut Jun Muyan is already dead. From now on, he can only dote on me. The more Lung Qingwan spoke, the crazier she became. Soon after, her eyes reddened and she was about to rush out. However, just as she rushed to the door, she was stopped by someone. The man raised his hand and gave her a slap. Lung Qingwan was sent flying several meters away. She fell to the ground and couldn't get up for a long time. Chapter 982. Lung Yuexia sneers. If I didn't hit you, how could you wake up? But master, Di Jun should have been mine, but he didn't want me anymore. Lung Yuexia's expression is extremely cold. She steps forward and ruthlessly kicks Lung Qingwan in the chest. You idiot, if you weren't me, I would have already killed you with my sword. Lung Qingwan suddenly spits out a mouthful of blood from this kick, her deathly pale face immediately revealing fear. Master, spare me, this disciple knows she was wrong. Lung Yuexia grits her teeth and says, I clearly told you that if you found the whereabouts of the Shun musician's successor, you must inform me in advance. But you, not only did you not inform me, you also acted on your own. In the end, not only did you not obtain the Shun musician's inheritance, you even offended the Polar Domain, offended Di Jun Lung Qingwan, If someone else had done such a thing, believe it or not, I would have immediately dismembered their body into 10,000 pieces. Lung Qingwan shivers, but she doesn't dare to say a word of rebuttal. Of course, she doesn't dare to say that she was blinded by jealousy, and she doesn't dare to say that she wants to monopolize the Shun musician's inheritance. Lung Yuexia takes a deep breath. Now that things have come to this, it's useless to say more. Now, the only way for you to turn things around is to climb into Di Jun's bed and gain his favor. Hearing that, Lung Qingwan suddenly raises her head, her face full of hope. Master, do you have a way for me to regain Di Jun's favor? Do you have a way for me and Di Jun? Lung Yuexia slowly reaches out and touches Lung Qingwan's face, her gaze deep and terrifying. Master will definitely let you get what you want. The wish that Master couldn't fulfill back then, now I will definitely let you achieve it. Master, Qingwan knows that you love Qingwan the most. Lung Qingwan's excited body slightly trembles. Master, quickly tell me, what method do you have? Lung Yuexia sneers. Since ancient times, men have always valued lust the most. Why can Jun Muyan get Di Jun's favor? Isn't it because she has a foxy face that could cause the downfall of a state? Just like that shameless Shun musician who seduced men back then. When Lung Yuexia said the last sentence, she gnashed her teeth, as if she couldn't wait to eat the flesh of a Shun musician. But very quickly, she calms down. Meeting Lung Qingwan's expectant gaze, she faintly smiles and says, Master has a secret recipe in my hands. As long as you collect enough rare elixirs and immortal herbs, you can change your appearance and become a peerless beauty. You can even become 70 to 80% similar to the deceased Jun Muyan. When the time comes, you'll have such a stunning appearance. Do you think Di Mingju wouldn't be tempted? Lung Qingwan stared blankly for a moment when she heard that. Then, her eyes suddenly widened as wild joy surged within her. Master, is what you said true? You can really make this disciple become as stunning as Jun Muyan? Lung Yuexia glanced at her and smiled coldly. When have I ever lied to you? However, this secret recipe requires a lot of elixirs, which can only be found in the cultivation continent. Immediately order the sects under you to find him at all costs. Yes. Don't worry, Master. Disciple will send someone to pass down the order. These sects have been under the protection of my Tianyi men all year round, and are also under our control with GU worms. They absolutely wouldn't dare to have the slightest bit of disloyalty. As long as Disciple gives the order, they will definitely do their utmost to find him. Chapter 983. Mu Yang's group of 3, as well as the bald donkey, traveled for more than half a month before they finally arrived at the Tianshan Mountains, where the Xiao Yarrow school was located. Along the way, listening to Luo Yu's incessant chatter, Mu Yang already knew that the Xiao Yarrow sect was a very, very poor sect. However, when she truly saw her own sect's encampment, Mu Yan was still thoroughly shocked. Little senior sister, we're finally here. Luo Yu rushed to Mu Yan's side excitedly, hugging her and shaking her hands. The young man's canine teeth and 2 deep dimples appeared, making him look even cuter. But Mu Yan looks in the direction that Luo Yu is pointing at, but she doesn't see any buildings that look like the encampment of a sect. Where is there a sect? There are only a few thatched cottages over there. She looked again and again. There really wasn't any sect encampment, only a few dilapidated thatched cottages that would sway in the wind and rain. Well, although this thatched hut was built in a ring shape with a 2-story wooden house in the middle, it looked more imposing than an ordinary farmhouse. But no matter how imposing it was still a thatched hut. Mu Yang turns to look at Luo Yu. Luo Yu blinked her eyes and said innocently, those thatched cottages are the base of our Xiao Yarrow school. Once again, Mu Yang feels her vision going black. She steadied herself and asked, unwilling to give up, is this the branch of the Xiao Yarrow sect? No, the Carefree sect doesn't have a branch, so this is the only place we have. Mu Yang gritted her teeth. But the Xiao Yarrow sect is a sect. How many people can live in those thatched cottages? She paused and asked suspiciously, don't tell me that there are only the 3 of us in the entire sect. How is that possible? Luo Yu immediately retorted. The sect has youngest martial uncle, eldest martial brother, second martial brother, third martial brother, stop. Mu Yang interrupted him. Just tell me, how many people are there in the sect? Luo Yu grinned, revealing his signature cute smile, including senior sister. There are already 9 of us. Ah, 6th senior martial sister, you don't know, but before you came, the Xiao Yarrow school hadn't had a new disciple for a long time. Mu Yang simply wants to raise her head and ask the heavens, speechless. 9 people? So many. Heavens, is this really a sect? He was also the king of the mountain who had gathered together to become a bandit. Wait a minute, even if they were bandits, it was impossible for there to be only 9 people. However, Luo Yu was still calling out to her excitedly. 6th senior sister, hurry up. I've already used the communication amulet to inform senior brother and senior sister that I've brought back beautiful senior sister. Big senior brother and the rest will definitely prepare good food. We can't let master take them all. Muyan looks up to the sky and sighs. All right. This was the sect that she had chosen herself, so even if she had to kneel down, she had to stay. Seeing Luo Yu excitedly running into a pile of thatched huts, Muyan could only lead the little donkey and leisurely follow. The closer she got to the thatched hut, the more she saw the crumbling plaque with the words Xiaoyaro sect written on it. Mu Yang sighed again. Didn't they say that appearance was very important? No wonder no one has entered the Xiaoyaro sect for so many years. Chapter 984. Before Muyan even enters the door, she hears her master's panting voice. Then comes Luo Yu's heart-wrenching complaint, Master, a communication talisman is worth 3 low-grade crystals. It wasn't easy for your disciple to draw 3, and I've already used one. I really have to use another one. I don't know if I can draw it as well next time. Shi Qing angrily says, then you go and cook for your master. Luo Yu spreads her hands. I saw, there's no rice, there's not even a vegetable leaf in the kitchen. What's more, master, you've already abstained from eating, there's no difference whether you eat or not. Shi Qing raises his hand to hit her. You unfilial disciple, even if your master abstains from eating, I'll still miss good food. Muyan looks at the empty sect, her heart full of nothing to live for. There's not even a vegetable leaf, this is just too poor. Just then, there's a sudden clamor outside the house. Then, the door of the thatched hut vibrates, pitifully swaying, as if it could fall at any time. A few figures rushed in one after another, making a ruckus as they rushed in. Second brother, it's all your fault, you can't even catch a blue and white deer. It's not easy for us to get a pretty junior sister, what if she starves? That fourth brother also flattened the wind. Wind spirit spore. There's not even residue left. All right, stop quarreling. In a while, when the new junior sister comes, it'll be a joke, ooh-ah. The doors open, master and the others have already returned. A strong wind blows into the house, and the dust inside rustles down. Muyan quickly sees the people rushing in. The leader is a square-faced youth with thick eyebrows and big eyes. He looks to be around 30 years old, and his appearance can only be considered ordinary, but his whole body exudes an awe-inspiring and calm aura. This should be the most reliable senior brother, Yun Ruohan, that Luo Yu often mentions. Following behind Yun Ruohan is a tall and sturdy man, and a handsome and beautiful youth. As soon as these 3 people appear, Muyan's heart slightly shudders. She has always known that this cheap master of hers, Shi Qing, has a very high cultivation. But perhaps it's because the difference in cultivation level between her and Shi Qing is too great. Therefore, other than when Shi Qing revealed his strength, she could not feel how powerful this master of hers was. He had even forgotten that he was an expert that struck fear into Qian Feng the moment he made a move, because he had seen his sloppy appearance all the time, and had even forgotten that he was an expert that struck fear into Qian Feng's heart. But today, when these 3 people appeared, Mu Yang immediately felt the vigorous and smooth spiritual power flowing around them. None of these 3 people's cultivation was lower than his. Especially that tall and sturdy man. Mu Yang had a feeling that even if she went all out, she might not necessarily be able to defeat him. There were only 9 people in the Xiaoyaro sect. All 3 of them were at least at the stage of fasting, and they were all young people with outstanding talent. Was the Xiao Yarou sect really just an ordinary sect? Mu Yang is sizing up the 3 people coming in. Shi Qing stroked his beard and said with a smile, Yang Yang, you're a little older than Luo Yu and you're the 6th child. Come and meet your senior brothers. Luo Yu had already pounced over and hugged eldest senior brother's arm, saying excitedly, eldest senior brother, 2nd senior brother, 4th senior sister, look. Look. This is the beautiful senior sister that Master and I recruited with great difficulty. Chapter 985. Mu Yang has only met them for the first time, so it's natural for her to be probed and alienated. She doesn't take it to heart at all. But she didn't hear clearly that Luo Yu said 4th sister. She just inexplicably feels that the handsome youth's gaze on her is particularly sharp, as if he wants to peel her apart and carefully observe her. Mu Yang is thinking, it seems that this senior brother doesn't have any good intentions towards her. Unexpectedly, the other party suddenly shows a bright smile and pounces over like a hungry tiger. Oh, great, it really isn't the little white flower that I hate the most. Master, you really know me too well, you actually sent me such a beautiful and delicious junior sister. Mu Yang didn't expect that this person's face changes faster than flipping a book. Caught off guard, she was actually hugged by him. Then, her face is wet and hot, she was actually kissed by someone. Mu Yang is about to flare up, but suddenly, a refreshing fragrance burrows into Mu Yang's nose. Because the handsome youth is too close, her hand can feel the youth's soft chest. Soft chest. Mu Yang blinks and looks at the beautiful youth who is hugging her neck. You're a woman? Cough, cough, cough. Shi Qing coughs again and again, looking very embarrassed. This is your 4th sister, Lang Yumo. She likes to fool around the most, ignore her. 4th sister Lang Yumo immediately says with dissatisfaction, Master, don't slander me in front of the beautiful junior sister. Junior sister, from now on, senior sister will take care of you. Let's sleep on the same bed at night, we can also bathe together, and senior sister can help you scrub your back, hey. Mu Yang looks at the cross-dressing 4th sister revealing such a wretched smile, and silently takes a step back. She takes back what she just said about the Xiaoyaro school not being simple. This is your eldest senior brother Yun Ruohan, and your 2nd senior brother Qin Ju. Lung Yumo immediately moves closer, hooks her arms around Mu Yang's neck, and says with a smile, don't call him 2nd senior brother, just call him barbarian bull. He's just a stupid bull with empty martial strength. Not at all. Qin Ju blushes and tries to refute, I'm smarter than a bull, I can even kill a mad bull. After Qin Ju finished speaking, he seemed to realize how stupid his words were. His face could not help but turn red and he lowered his head in shame. Because of his stuttering, his tone of speech, and his silly personality, he was always mocked by others. Today, when a new junior sister entered the sect, he wanted to perform well. Who knew that the more he performed, the uglier he became? However, Mu Yang smiled slightly, without the slightest bit of disdain on his face, he respectfully called out, 2nd senior brother. When Qin Ju heard this, she was stunned for a moment. Then, a silly smile blossomed on her face. Hey, little junior sister, wait, I will go and prepare dinner for you. After saying that, he blew away like a gust of wind. During this time, a cheerful and deep laughter could be heard in the air. Little junior sister called me 2nd senior brother, hihi. 2nd senior brother, Mu Yang rubbed her nose. Didn't she just call him 2nd senior brother? Was he that excited? When she turned around, she saw eldest senior brother and 4th senior sister looking at her with deep eyes. Lung Yumo bluntly asked, don't you think that barbarian bull is stupid and unsophisticated? Mu Yang smiled and slowly said, 4th senior sister, would you think that someone stronger than you is stupid and unsophisticated? Chapter 986. Master, you've finally done something good this time. You've brought back such a cute junior sister. Shi Qing glared at them, get lost. Take it easy. If you scare her away, I'll beat you to death. Yun Ruohan stepped forward and looked at Mu Yan warmly, junior sister, welcome to the Xiao Yarou sect. I'll take you to your residence first. Xiao Qi, Yu Mo, Go and help second brother. In the Xiao Yarrow sect, Yun Ruohan's prestige seemed to be very high. Although Luo Yu and Lung Yu Mo didn't want to let Muyan go, they obediently went to the kitchen when they heard Yun Ruohan's order. Eldest senior brother, is there anyone else in the sect? Muyan asked as they walked. If she remembered correctly, Luo Yu said that there were 9 people in the Xiao Yarrow sect. But now, including herself, Muyan only saw 6. Yun Ruohan smiled. Junior master went out to train and hasn't returned yet. There's also your 3rd senior brother, Chu Moli. He likes peace and is not in good health, so he couldn't come out to welcome you. Yun Ruohan didn't continue after talking about the 3rd senior brother. Muyan couldn't help but ask, what about 5th senior brother? 5th brother, he. Yun Ruohan revealed an awkward and troubled expression. She glanced at Muyan. 5th brother is a little special. Before Yun Ruohan could finish her sentence, a wooden door opened with a creak not too far away. A soft, androgynous voice came from inside. Eldest senior brother, how am I special? Muyan was thinking that this 5th senior brother's voice was even more feminine and pleasant than Lan Luoyu's. Could it be that he's also an immature youth? From the wooden door, a beautiful girl walked out. She wore a cloth dress with golden hairpins and jingling ornaments. The girl was tall and slender, and her appearance was beautiful beyond compare. When she slowly walked out of the house into the sunlight, her skin was as white as snow and her eyebrows were like a painting. That peerless appearance was actually not inferior to Mu Yang's by much. Muyan was dumbfounded as she looked at the beautiful girl walking in front of her. He looked down at him and then laughed coldly. What does Master and 7 mean? How could you find such a beautiful woman? Do you think that I am not beautiful enough and can't hold up the face of the Xiao Yarrow sect? Tomorrow I will go to the foot of the mountain to buy some rouge and face powder. I want to see who is the most beautiful person in the Xiao Yarrow sect. Cough, cough, cough. Yun Ruohan coughed repeatedly. 5th junior brother, you're already beautiful enough. You don't need to dress up anymore. You really don't have to dress up anymore. When the beautiful girl heard this, she fiercely glared at Mu Yang. Let me tell you, don't be complacent. I won't lose to you in terms of beauty. Ling Yusheng, enough. Yun Ruohan berated him loudly. We don't even have crystals to eat in the sect, so how can we let you buy makeup? This is the newly arrived 6th junior sister Jun Muyan, still not coming over to greet her properly. Ling Yusheng is unwilling, but due to the majesty of the eldest senior brother, he still nods towards Muyan with a taut face. Then he snorts, turns around and slams the door. Muyan's soul has left her body. After a long while, she came back to her senses and asked with difficulty, that is 5th senior brother. Wait a minute. That's obviously a beautiful girl, okay? How could it be 5th senior brother? Chapter 987. But this 5th brother. No matter how she looked at 5th senior brother, from left to right, no matter how she looked at him, he was a beautiful and charming woman. Wait, just now, she seems to have seen an Adam's apple sliding up and down the throat of the beautiful girl. Although it's not obvious, but, so, is 5th brother really a man? And a man who likes to dress up as a woman, and completely thinks of himself as a beauty. Muyan feels like she's in a mess. What kind of strange sect did she enter? Yun Ruohan coughs a few times in embarrassment. Well, 5th brother has always thought of himself as a woman since he was a child. You, don't lower yourself to his level. Well, little sister, you rest for a while. I'll call you again when it's time for dinner. After saying that, he pushes Muyan into one of the small rooms and flees. After the shock, Muyan calms down. She doesn't think that it's surprising that 5th brother has such a hobby. She remembers seeing it in Bailey Liuin's notes. In her era, it was normal for boys to look like women, or girls to look like men. Some men think of themselves as women from a young age, and that seems to be a gender barrier. Even in Bailey Liuin's original world, men falling in love with men, and women falling in love with women, are all recognized. Muyan shakes her head, throwing the shock and amazement to the back of her mind. She begins to look around her room. Her room isn't big, and the furnishings are very simple. However, she can see that it's been well cleaned and arranged. Although this Xiaoyaro sect is poor and very strange, Muyan doesn't feel repulsed here. Instead, she feels an inexplicable warmth. She has never felt this kind of warmth and harmony since she came to the Shozhen continent. She thinks for a moment, takes out a piece of paper and ink from her space, and slowly writes on it sad smiley Xiaoyaro sect, Master, Shiqing, unfathomable cultivation. Eldest brother, Yun Ruohan, dignified and calm, like the head of the family. Second brother, Qin Ju, simple and honest, with extraordinary strength. Third brother, Chu Moli, has a stubborn disease, and lives alone. Fourth sister, Leng Yumor, bold and cheerful, likes to dress up as a man. Fifth brother, Ling Yuxing, a man's body, but a woman's heart. Seventh brother, Lan Luoyu, cute Xiao Qi. Muyan pauses, then writes the 3 words, junior uncle. The one that Luoyu often mentioned, the one that was outstanding and had an appearance that was comparable to that of a deity. What kind of person was he? At this time, Mu Yang still doesn't know that in the near future, the Xiaoyaro sect would create a huge wave in the cultivation world, and even the cultivation world. One day, the name of Unfettered 7 would become the most dreadful existence in the hearts of cultivators, along with the name of the Nether Fire Legion. At dinner time, Muyan was dragged to the kitchen by Luo Yu. She had thought that the poor Xiaoyaro school would be happy to have rice and vegetables. But the delicacies on the table were beyond her expectations. There were a few plates of fragrant roasted meat on the table, as well as a rich and fragrant soup that exuded the aura of spirit energy. There were even 2 bowls of rice steamed from spiritual grains on the table. When Mu Yang and Luo Yu entered, the eldest senior brother Yun Ruohan, the second senior brother Qin Ju, and the 4th senior sister Lang Yumor were already in the kitchen, staring at the table full of dishes and swallowing their saliva. There was another person in the room. It was a pale-faced youth. Chapter 988. But he's sitting on a strange chair with wooden wheels. As he walks, he doesn't stand up. Instead, he moves the wooden wheels and slowly walks to the dining table. Mu Yang guesses it right away. This should be the only third brother that she hasn't seen yet, Chu Moli. Sure enough, as big brother Yun Ruohan said, third brother has a stubborn illness that makes it difficult for him to walk. Little sister, come, eat. Qin Ju sees Mu Yang and immediately greets her enthusiastically. Leng Yumor hugs Mu Yang and presses her to her seat. Little sister, this is the welcome banquet that we specially prepared for you. Quickly come and have a taste. How does it taste? As soon as Mu Yang sits down, a bowl of fragrant white rice is stuffed into her hands. Big brother Yun Ruohan, second brother Qin Ju, and 4th sister Leng Yumor are all eagerly looking at her, waiting for her to taste it. Mu Yang can't accept this kind of hospitality. She can only taste the barbecue and drink the soup, but her eyes can't help but brighten. She doesn't know what kind of spirit beast this barbecue is from. The meat is delicious, and the cooking is just right. When she bites, the fragrance lingers in her lips and teeth, and a rich spiritual power flows into her body. This cooking skill is comparable to Di Ming Ju's. Moreover, this soup looks ordinary, but there are all kinds of spirit mushrooms and spirit vegetables in it. It's not obvious from the outside because the chef's cooking skills are very experienced, wrapping the fragrance of these spirit mushrooms and spirit vegetables in the soup. Only when it enters the mouth, can you feel the sweetness that almost swallows your tongue. The taste is so good. Mu Yang can't help but exclaim, it's too much to say that it's a worldly delicacy. Second brother, did you make this? No, how could I make it? Qin Ju repeatedly waves his hands. Just then, a feminine and mellow voice comes from the stove, at least you're sensible enough to taste the delicacies made by this concubine. As they speak, they see the graceful figure of a young girl coming out from behind the stove. It's the beautiful 5th brother Ling Yuxing with a head full of beaded hairpins. Wearing a pink apron, she leisurely walks out with the appearance of a noble lady. Phut, cough. Mu Yang chokes on the soup in her mouth. After a long while, she finds her voice. 5th brother, this is the food you made. Ling Yuxing raises her eyebrows, her pink cheeks angry. What? You dislike it? No. Mu Yang swallowed the food in her mouth and praised sincerely, "Fifth senior brother, no, fifth senior sister, your culinary skills are really good. You're really good in the hall and in the kitchen. Junior sister admires you." She hears Mu Yan calling her fifth senior sister, and even praising her for going to the main hall and going to the kitchen. Ling Yusheng's face suddenly blossomed into a smile. He glanced sideways at Mu Yang, but his attitude became much more intimate. "Little girl, you only know how to speak flowery words. Let me tell you, the number one beauty of the Xiao Yarrow sect is junior martial uncle, and the number two beauty is me, Ling Yusheng. Don't even think about fighting me for her." Cough, cough, cough. Mu Yang coughed again, and said repeatedly, "Not snatching, absolutely not snatching. What second beauty? She didn't want this title at all, okay? Wait, why is fifth senior brother the second most beautiful woman?" With fifth senior brother's looks and narcissism, he actually admitted that youngest martial uncle was better looking than him. What does this junior martial uncle look like? Ling Yusheng turned around and went back to clean up the stove. Mu Yang rubbed her nose. She really liked this fifth senior brother more and more. Chapter 989. She likes people who can cook delicious food the most. Mu Yan turns around and meets a pair of deep and serene eyes. Those eyes carry hidden curiosity and interest, as well as indifference, as if it's none of his business. When Mu Yan's eyes meet, the other party immediately reveals a gentle and harmless smile. It's third brother Chu Moli. Mu Yan frowns. She always feels that this third brother looks gentle on the outside, weak and harmless. Even his cultivation isn't high, but he inexplicably makes her feel a chill down her spine. Little sister, third, hurry up and eat, it's cold, it's cold." Qin Ju's urging voice is heard, bringing Mu Yan back to her senses. Soon after, Mu Yan realizes that in the entire kitchen, only she and Chu Moli are eating. "Big brother, second brother, fourth sister, won't you all eat together? Leng Yu more swallows. We're not hungry. We already ate outside. Junior sister, this is your welcoming banquet. You and third senior brother should eat. Yes, little sister, you and third brother eat. Qin Ju also swallows, pulling his line of sight away from the fragrant food. Your new, third brother's body is weak, we're fine, we're not hungry. Don't you need to call master to eat? Hehe, master let us put the medicine and fall asleep, no one will snatch it from you. Sixth sister, hurry up and eat. Luo Yu shows a lovely smile, but her eyes don't dare to look at the fragrant and beautiful food. Mu Yan suddenly thinks of the impoverished Xiaoyaro school. According to Luo Yu, they're so poor that they can't even eat for several months. And because they've basically abstained from eating, they don't need to eat, so they only have enough to prepare food for the weak third brother Chu Moli. Now, there's her. Mu Yan wants Luo Yu to eat with her. But this youth, he's obviously drooling, yet he leaves all the delicious food for her. Even Ling Yusheng, who has been busy at the stove for more than an hour, hasn't sat down to eat a delicious meal. Mu Yan sighs softly, shares the priceless food with Chu Moli, then gets up and returns to her room. It was as if the fragrance of the food still lingered in her mouth, making her body feel a strange warmth. The Xiao Yarrow sect was old and shabby, and there were only 9 people. But she wanted to stay here. Of course, she didn't want to starve and freeze with her fellow disciples. It seemed that he had to think of a way to make a living. Alchemy. Mu Yang writes alchemy on the grass in the space, then crosses it out. Although she had the cloud-born sea-forming technique, and although she knew alchemy, however, he could only refine elixirs below the 3rd grade. Not to mention the fact that a lot of rare and precious spirit herbs were needed to refine pills of the 3rd grade and above. More importantly, it required a cauldron that had the support of a talisman array. The problem is that she's penniless right now, and the cauldron was even brought over from the Yanwu continent. The last time he tried to concoct pills in the Mirror Moon mountain range, one of them exploded. Moreover, the pill recipes that she has on hand are only those that she has collected in the Yanwu continent. In the Yanwu continent, it can fetch a high price, but in the Xiuzhen continent, there aren't many cultivators who would take a fancy to it. Cure. The Xiao Yarou sect was located in the Tianshan mountain range, which was half a day's journey away from the nearest market. Even if he wanted to treat someone, he wouldn't be able to find a patient. Chapter 990. Ben Zun is too embarrassed to say that you're my master. TSK, try and find someone to say that I'm your master. Muyan has already seen how timid Qi Huang is. Except for Xiao Bao, the fat rabbit, and Qiu, he simply doesn't dare to appear in front of anyone. Qi Huang's cheeks bulge out in anger. He grits his teeth and says, Ben Zun won't lower himself to the level of an ignorant little girl like you. But after a while, looking at Muyan's troubled appearance, he can't help but say, what's there to worry about? Just find a rich and overflowing family and rob them, robbing the rich to help the poor, killing two birds with one stone. Muyan's mouth twitches. This tool spirit is really becoming more and more human-like. He even knows how to rob the rich to help the poor. Muyan thinks for a whole night, but she still can't figure out how to increase the income of the Xiaoyaro school. In the end, she falls asleep in the space. In a trance, she hears Xiao Bao's soft call. Nyang Qin, I miss you so much. Muyan's tears suddenly rush up. Xiao Bao, Nyang Qin also misses you. Tell Nyang Qin, where are you? Nyang Qin will come to find you. No. Xiao Bao shakes his head heavily, his handsome little face full of longing and determination. Xiao Bao wants to become stronger. When Xiao Bao becomes stronger, he will go find Nyang Qin. Xiao Bao wants to protect Nyang Qin. Before his voice falls, Xiao Bao's image becomes fainter and fainter. Muyan stretches out her hand, wanting to hold Xiao Bao, but she only holds air. Xiao Bao. The sound of crying is suddenly drowned in a wide and blazing embrace. Muyan looks up and is stunned to see the man's handsome and perfect face. Di Mingju. Yang. The man gently strokes her face, wiping away the tears on her face. Yang, wait for me, I'll find you soon. Yang, wait for me. Muyan suddenly opens her eyes and sits up on the grass. She touches her face, it's wet. Looking around, she finds that it's empty. There's no Di Mingju or Xiao Bao. She hooks up the corners of her lips, revealing a bitter smile. It turned out to be just a dream. That's right, she is now separated from Xiao Bao and Di Mingju. She can only see them in her dreams. Hey, you, why are you crying? Qi Huang carefully moved closer and looked at her face. A look of disgust and worry appeared on her beautiful face. I don't think I said anything to anger you last night, did I? Muyan gives him a sidelong glance. You still know that you anger me every day. Qi Huang stammered as he squatted beside her for a while. Finally, as if he had made up his mind about something, he handed out his sleeve. All right, don't cry. At most, I'll lend you my noble clothes to wipe your tears. After Mu Yang got up, she decided to visit the Xiaoyaro school first. Although the entire Xiaoyaro sect is only this big, it's not an exaggeration to say that it's a complete view. Along the way, she passed by the training field at the back of the mountain. He saw second senior brother Qin Ju facing a cliff that towered into the clouds. He was bombarding the cliff with his fists. With every strike, a huge rock would fall from above. Seeing Muyan, Qin Ju immediately reveals a silly smile. Little junior sister, good morning. I'm warming up, do you want to join me? Mu Yang, she went around the back of the mountain and saw her fourth senior sister who was chasing a huge cloud python. Chapter 991. Even the miserable Mu Yang felt like shedding tears of sympathy for her. Only when the cloud python was completely smashed into minced meat did the fourth senior sister suddenly come to her senses. Oh no, I finally found lunch for junior sister, but I smashed it into minced meat again. Alas, it's already stained with mud, how can I eat it? The corner of Mu Yang's mouth twitched. She finally understood that the people of the Xiaoyaro school were all so strong, so how could they be so poor? If they weren't all weirdos, then they were all violent maniacs. They didn't even put the scraps of food in their hands. Entering the Xiaoyaro school through the back door, Mu Yang saw her third senior brother Chu Moli sitting in a wheelchair. Chu Moli was dressed in blue clothes. He had a handsome appearance and a delicate figure. In front of him was a lake, a mountain, and a blue morning sun. Under the morning light, he was holding a paintbrush and drawing on an easel. He really looked like a dignified gentleman, an elegant scholar, which was incompatible with the violent and poor Xiaoyaro school. As a result, Mu Yang quietly approached and saw Chu Moli's drawing. She was dumbfounded. She saw that there was no longer any white space on the drawing paper, only a glaring scarlet color. In the scarlet color, there were ferocious roars of ghost heads drilling out of the lava of hell. There were also the eerie white bones being gnawed by the ghost heads. As if he felt her approaching, Chu Moli turned around and revealed a gentle smile. "Junior sister, what do you think of my drawing?" The veins on Mu Yang's forehead bulged. "I don't know how your drawing is, but I feel that you're a pervert. Facing such a beautiful lake and spring scenery, you can actually draw such a dark, treacherous, and bloody picture." She forced a smile. "It's very good." Chu Moli's smile became more gentle and gentle. "Thank you for your praise, junior sister." Mu Yang shook her head and quickly retreated. Having seen Chu Moli's perverseness, Mu Yang didn't feel surprised when she saw her fifth senior brother with light makeup. Instead, she felt even more cordial. "Fifth senior sister, good morning." Ling Yusheng raised her head from her embroidery, revealing a beautiful face. She rebuked, "Can't you see that I'm embroidering? If you suddenly make a sound, what if I ruin the Mandarin duck embroidery?" Mu Yang asked with interest, "What is fifth sister embroidering?" Ling Yusheng glanced at her, but still answered, "A Mandarin duck embroidered pouch." "The embroidery is really beautiful." Mu Yang enviously looks at Ling Yusheng's slender and good-looking fingers, holding thin needles as they weave through the cloth. "I don't have this skill at all." "Fifth senior sister, you're so awesome." Her family's Xiaobao's clothes were all torn in the beginning, so she directly bought new ones. Later on, when Xiaobao grew a little bigger, Xiaobao was the one who nourished him. She, as a mother, was really too incompetent. When Ling Yusheng heard her praising her skills, she immediately revealed a flowery smile. "Your mouth is so sweet. How about I give this pouch to you after I finish embroidering it?" "Really? Page, of course it's true. When have I ever lied?" Satisfied, Mu Yang leaves. Ling Yusheng, however, stared at her back, unable to come back to his senses for a long time. He muttered, "Could it be that she really doesn't think that I'm an anomaly, a disgusting monster?" It only took Mu Yang 2 hours to stroll around the Xiaoyaro school, as well as the front and back mountains. She wanted to find Luo Yu and ask her how she could make a living, so that the Xiaoyaro school could get out of its destitute state. Chapter 992. Mu Yang glanced around and saw that the room was littered with crumpled yellow paper. And the brush in Luo Yu's hand is also very strange. The ink on the brush isn't black, but red. "Xiaoqi, what are you doing?" Mu Yang suddenly says, making Luo Yu's hand shake. A drop of red ink falls on the yellow paper. Luo Yu immediately cries out, "Oh, it's ruined again, boo-hoo." The young boy's face is full of worry, pulling his hair as if he wants to pull his scalp off. Seeing Mu Yang come in, he immediately pounces over and hugs her, begging for comfort. "Boo-hoo, sixth senior sister, I've been drawing for the whole morning, and I've only finished one. I originally wanted to draw a few more talismans so that I could exchange them for something delicious and have fifth senior brother make it for you." Mu Yang strokes the boy's head and comforts him for a while, then asks, "You're drawing talismans?" Luo Yu takes a finished talisman and hands it to Mu Yang like a treasure. "Little senior sister, look, this is the talisman I drew. It's a replenishing talisman that can instantly replenish a cultivator's spiritual aura. If it were to be sold on the market, it would be worth 3 low-grade crystals." Mu Yang takes the talisman and instantly remembers that day in the windless square. Luo Yu also gave her a talisman, saying that it could help her heal. Afterwards, Mu Yang also activated her spiritual power to test it, and found that after the talisman was ignited, it could indeed heal her external injuries. Although the effect was far inferior to the elixirs she refined, or even drafts. "That's a first-grade healing talisman that I drew." Luo Yu proudly puffs out her chest, That healing talisman is worth 5 low-grade crystals, but unfortunately, drawing it was too difficult. I can't draw any of them now. Mu Yang looks at the talisman in her hand and checks it with her divine sense. She can't help but ask, is drawing talismans very difficult? Of course it's difficult. Luo Yu repeatedly shakes her head. Young martial uncle passed on the skill of drawing talismans to all of us, but only I barely managed to learn it. But even so, to draw a talisman requires all the spiritual power in my body. Sometimes, I can't draw it even if I exhaust all my spiritual power, and I can't draw it for the whole day. Mu Yang thoughtfully looks at the talisman in her hand. Luo Yu suddenly thought of something and said excitedly, "Sixth senior sister, do you want to learn how to draw talismans? How about I teach you? You're so smart and talented, maybe you can learn it." Mu Yang smiles and strokes his head, "Then I'll have to trouble Xiao Qi." Luo Yu immediately smiled, revealing her 2 canine teeth and deep dimples. She grabbed Mu Yang and brought her to the table. "Sixth senior sister, look, the technique of drawing talismans is actually very simple. You just need to use cinnabar to draw the talisman patterns according to the different effects of the talisman. While drawing, you can attach your spiritual power to it. However, the difficulty in drawing talismans lay in the fact that the concentration of spiritual power needed to be attached to each different type of talisman, and each talisman pattern was different. If too much spiritual energy is attached to it, the talisman will burn. If too little spiritual energy is attached to it, or if it breaks, then even if the talisman is completed, it will only be a useless piece of paper." As Luo Yu spoke, she drew the talisman carefully. But along the way, there was a talisman that he used a little too much spiritual power on. The talisman paper immediately burned and disappeared without a trace. Then, she suddenly came to her senses and let out a scream. "Ah, I actually used the talisman. That's a 2nd grade replenishing spirit talisman. It's worth at least 10 low-grade crystal stones. It's enough for us to have a feast. Ah, is there something wrong with my brain?" Mu Yang patted the youth's head and chuckled, "If you use it, then use it. It's no big deal. Senior sister will draw it for you again." After saying that, under Luo Yu's incredulous gaze, Mu Yang picks up the cinnabar brush and takes a piece of talisman paper. The brush landed on the paper in one smooth motion. The second talisman was a success. Luo Yu's jaw almost dropped. Another success. Mu Yang's brush didn't stop, and she continued to draw a dozen or so talismans. Luo Yu swallowed, then swallowed again. Chapter 994. The key is, every. 1. Zhong. All. Yes, 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 yes. Mu Yang slaps the talisman paper on Luo Yu's chest and says dotingly, "Here, burn it for fun. I'll draw as many as you burn." Luo Yu pressed down on the stack of talisman papers on her chest, her voice trembling. Sixth senior sister, drawing talismans consumes a lot of spiritual power. You drew so many, don't you need to rest? Does it consume a lot of spiritual power? Mu Yang uses her spiritual power to feel it, then says suspiciously, "I don't think so, it seems like not even 1% of my spiritual power has been consumed. This is not even as much as the spiritual power she used to refine the most common 1st-grade elixirs." Luo Yu stands still for a while, then suddenly rushes out of the room like a gust of wind. Eldest senior brother, 2nd senior brother, 3rd senior brother, 4th senior sister, 5th senior brother. Come quickly. We're rich. Ha 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 ha, from now on, we don't have to eat anymore. In the only meeting hall of the Xiaoyaro school, all the people of the Xiaoyaro school, except for the wandering little master, are all gathered together. Everyone's eyes move from the stack of talisman paper in Luo Yu's hand to Mu Yang, then from Mu Yang back to the stack of talisman paper. Ahem. Shi Qing clears his throat. Yang, my good disciple, tell me, have you learned how to draw talismans before? Mu Yang shakes her head. No, Xiao Qi just taught me. Today is my first time drawing talismans. Everyone in the meeting hall looks at each other and swallows their saliva. She can draw so well on her first time drawing talismans. She drew a dozen of them and didn't fail even once. Mu Yang can't help but say, "Are you sure that drawing talismans is difficult? Are you sure that my talismans can be exchanged for a lot of crystals? Isn't that obvious?" Fourth sister Lang Yumor is the first to slap the table. "If drawing talismans is not difficult, how could I have drawn 300 of them and not one succeeded?" Qin Ju touches his head. I touch the talisman paper and it burns." Yun Ruohan said embarrassedly, "Every time I draw a talisman, I can't apply spiritual energy evenly to it. I've drawn more than 200 talismans, but I haven't succeeded in one." Ling Yusheng grunted coldly. "I'm not interested in doing something as crude as drawing talismans." Muyan nods, "I understand. In short, talismans are very valuable. If I draw a little more, we can improve our meals." As she spoke, she took out the talisman paper and cinnabar from her space and started drawing in front of everyone. While drawing, he said without raising his head, "Don't mind me, continue talking." The room was completely silent. Everyone stared at her dumbfoundedly. She didn't even hesitate for a moment and finished drawing a talisman in one go. Then, he casually tossed it aside and began to draw the second one. "I've picked up a treasure. I've really picked up a treasure this time. Ha 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 ha." Shi Qing stroked his beard and laughed heartily. "Didn't I say that I had a discerning eye? I actually managed to recruit such a capable and treasured disciple." Luo Yu held the talisman paper that Muyan gave her and happily patted it on her chest. "How much spirit beast meat, spirit grains, and spirit vegetables can this be exchanged for? Just thinking about it makes me drool. Sell. Immediately sell these talismans." Leng Yumor said excitedly, "Eldest brother, let's go down the mountain and sell the talismans now." Chapter 995. Just then, Chu Moli opens his mouth. There are no flying artifacts in the sect, and it would take at least half a day to go to the market at the foot of the mountain to sell. Moreover, I'm afraid that it wouldn't be easy to find a shop that can buy so many talismans in that small market at the foot of the mountain. As soon as he said this, everyone present withered. The small market at the foot of the mountain indeed couldn't buy so many talismans, and the price might even be lowered because they didn't know the goods. But if they went to a big city, it would take at least 10 days to go back and forth. Wouldn't that mean that they would have to starve for more than 10 days? They were clearly guarding a mountain of crystals and treasures, yet they couldn't exchange it for meat. This feeling was really too painful. Chu Moli slowly said, "Did you forget that there is a place that can buy as many talismans as there are?" Everyone's gaze turns to Chu Moli. Even Muyan raises her head after drawing a talisman. Chu Moli faintly smiles, his deep gaze sweeping over Muyan, finally falling on Yun Ruohan. "Eldest senior brother should still have the Heavenly Light Ruins jade key that little senior brother left for you, right?" Heavenly Light Ruins, how could I forget about this place? Right, we can take the talismans to Heavenly Light Ruins to sell." "What do you mean by sell? Did you forget that little Marshall uncle left us a shop? We can directly go to that shop to sell it." "Oh, that shop still hasn't closed down?" Cough, cough. Muyan coughs lightly, interrupting their excited words. "May I ask, what kind of place is Heavenly Light Ruins?" As soon as these words come out, everyone's gazes simultaneously turn to Muyan, their faces full of astonishment. "Little junior sister, you don't even know about Heavenly Light Ruins. Which deep mountain or wild forest did you come from?" "That can't be, even if it's a deep mountain or wild forest, it's impossible not to have heard of Heavenly Light Ruins. In the Xiozhan continent, there's no one who doesn't know about Heavenly Light Ruins." Under the dim light, Chu Moli's eyes seem brighter than the others. So when he smiles now, it's a bit less warm, with a bit of morbid enthusiasm and excitement. "I also really want to know, where did little junior sister come from? You can casually draw a dozen talismans, but you haven't even heard of Tianguang Ruins." Mu Yang unhurriedly took out a piece of talisman paper, and said indifferently as she drew, "I've never heard of Tianguang Ruins because I'm not from the Xiozhan continent." The talisman inscription was completed in one go, and the talisman paper seemed to be flickering with white light. Muyan casually tosses it to the side, then raises her head and smiles. Let me reintroduce myself to everyone. My name is Jun Muyan. I am an ascended cultivator from Yenwu continent. Tianguang Ruins was indeed a place that everyone in the cultivation continent knew about. It was a place even more magical than the small world of a tribulation stage cultivator. In a virtual trading world, no one knew where Tianguang Ruins came from or how long it would exist. However, it had become an indispensable existence in the entire cultivation continent. Anyone with a spirit root could enter the Skylight Ruins with their spirit consciousness as long as they had the Jade Key. Yun Ruohan hands an exquisite key-shaped jade tablet into Muyan's hand. Chapter 996. Mu Yang curiously took the jade key from the Tianguang Ruins and looked at it. She found that the jade key was only half the size of a palm, but the runes carved on it were so complicated that she felt dizzy just by looking at it for a while. Yun Ruohan explained, "Don't be fooled by this jade key. It's indispensable for entering the Tianguang Ruins and doing business there. There's a storage space in the jade key. Whether it's crystals, talismans, or other items, as long as you put them in the storage space of the jade key, it's the same as bringing them into the Tianguang Ruins. You can directly trade with people there." Mu Yang used her divine sense to explore and found that there was indeed a storage space in the jade key. It was just that the space was not like other storage rings or Chenkuan bags, which had a definite size. When she probed it with her divine sense, it was like entering a boundless black hole. So the things placed inside could be directly brought into the place called Tianguang Ruins? Was it really that magical? Yun Ruohan saw Mu Yang's curious look and couldn't help laughing. The storage space of the jade key is only 2 or 3 square meters, and not many things can be brought in. Whether the storage space can be expanded and how many things can be brought in is related to your popularity in the Tianguang Ruins. Mu Yang asked curiously, "Popularity? What a new term." Yun Ruohan smiled. "In the Tianguang Ruins, as long as you complete a transaction or do something sensational, your reputation will be spread, and your popularity will increase accordingly. The Tianguang Ruins is divided into the upper 3 zones, the middle 3 zones, and the lower 3 zones. Once ordinary people enter, they will definitely be in the lower 3 zones. Only when their popularity has increased to a certain level can they qualify to enter the middle 3 zones and the upper 3 zones. The things sold in the lower 3 zones are usually the most ordinary, and the people there are all low-level cultivators. The higher the 3 zones, the rarer the things sold in the Tianguang Ruins, and the higher the level of the cultivators. Even in the central zone of the upper 3 zones, you can meet tribulation cultivators." Mu Yang pondered. The Tianguang Ruins mentioned by the eldest senior brother seemed to open a whole new world to her. She couldn't wait to go in and have a look. Mu Yang couldn't help but ask curiously, "Eldest senior brother, what's your popularity in the Tianguang Ruins?" She had heard that the Xiaoyaro sect had a shop in the lower 3 districts of the Tianguang Ruins. To be able to open a shop, his popularity must be quite high, right? Hearing this, Yun Ruohan's resolute and handsome face instantly revealed an awkward expression. His wheat-colored skin couldn't hide his slightly red cheeks. "Well, our fellow disciples in the sect aren't good at managing. Although junior martial uncle left a shop for us, but, I only have 5 popularity points. 4th junior sister and 5th junior brother, because they offended a client, their popularity is still in the negatives. They're practically blacklisted in Tianguang Ruins." Cough cough. 5 points, a negative number. Muyan holds her forehead. This was no longer something that could be explained by poor management, right? No wonder the Xiaoyaro sect was so poor. Yun Ruohan rummaged through the ground and took out 2 pieces of low-grade crystals, stuffing them into Muyan's hands. "Take these 2 crystals with you. Don't be too frugal if you need to spend them in the Tianguang Ruins." Chapter 997. Come back and tell the senior brothers, and they will definitely avenge you. For the first time, Muyan finds that when her big senior brother starts nagging, he can talk endlessly like an old woman. But this kind of nagging doesn't make her feel the slightest bit disgusted. Instead, There's a kind of strange nostalgia and warmth. It reminds her of her brother, Shen Jinglin, who always treats her like a child. Muyan takes the jade key back to the house, locks the door, and directly enters the space. The space is quiet. Qi Huang and Little Phoenix are both sleeping. Muyan looks at the beautiful youth who is lying on his back, sleeping soundly, and there's a suspicious silver thread flowing down from the corners of his mouth. Little Phoenix, who has curled up into a ball, can't help but smile and shake his head. Her divine sense enters the jade key, and Muyan feels a powerful energy suddenly pouring into her body from the jade key. Soon after, her soul seems to be sucked into a boundless black hole. After a while, the dizziness of her soul being swallowed up disappears. Muyan opens her eyes, and a powerful energy that seems both familiar and strange hits her in the face. Immediately after, she hears a wooden and stiff voice that is neither male nor female. Welcome to the Xiuzhen continent's Qianguang ruins. You are number 9. XXXXX, visitor. Mu Yang looked around and found that she was floating in the void. Front, back, left, and right are like boundless black holes. And that stiff voice seems to come directly from her mind. Please choose your gender in Qianguang ruins. The wooden and stiff voice speaks again. Soon after, 3 balls of light appear in front of Muyan. The balls of light respectively write, male, female, neither male nor female. The corners of Muyan's mouth twitches. Are there really people who are neither male nor female in this world? She raises her hand and clicks on female. The moment she touches the ball of light, it disperses into starlight and disappears. Soon after, the wooden and mechanical voice speaks again. Please choose your age in Qianguang ruins. There's no ball of light this time, so Muyan directly asks, 20. There's a ding-dong sound, and the mechanical voice asks a third question. Please state the name you use in Qianguang ruins. The name I use in Qianguang ruins? Can I not use my real name in Qianguang ruins? Muyan mutters to herself. The mechanical voice seemed to have heard her question and immediately shot out a ball of light. The ball of light was densely packed with black words. Mu Yang reached out and gently touched it. Immediately, she felt countless information pouring into her mind. That was the rule of Qianguang ruins. First, Qianguang ruins was only a virtual trading and entertainment venue. Forced buying and selling were not allowed, and killing and fighting were not allowed. Anyone who violated this rule would have their divine sense erased and be expelled forever. Secondly, any visitor of Qianguang ruins was allowed to wear a mask and change their name, age, appearance, identity, and even gender. But once the information was selected, it would cost 1,000 low-grade crystals to change it. Thirdly, Qianguang ruins can also be used to authenticate your real name and help fellow Daoist become famous. However, all real name authentication was strictly prohibited. Otherwise, one would be blacklisted in the Qianguang ruins. Mu Yang looked through them one by one, only feeling that this Qianguang ruins was indescribably strange. Whether it was the wording of the rules and regulations or the words spoken by the mechanical voice, they were all incompatible with this world. Instead, it seemed more like the words in Bailey Liuin's notebook. However, looking at it this way, she felt that this Qianguang ruins was rather interesting. Not only was he allowed to change his age and name, he could even change his appearance. Chapter 998. Because she didn't answer for a long time, the robotic voice asked again, please state the name you use in Qianguang ruins. If you don't answer within the time limit, your name will be randomly selected as Kuihua family's pickled cabbage 1213. The veins on Mu Yang's forehead suddenly throbbed. Kuihua family's pickled cabbage 1213. What kind of damned name is this? Isn't it too unpleasant to hear? But she couldn't think of what name to give it at the moment. Watching the time slowly pass, the countdown of 10, 9, 8, 7 resounds in her mind. Mu Yang suddenly remembered that in Bailey Liuin's notes, he mentioned a person called Yi Liang Chen, as if he was telling a joke. Especially that sentence, if you think you have the ability to play with me, Liang Chen doesn't mind accompanying you to the end. It left a very deep impression on her. When Xiao Bao read it out, she laughed for a long time as a joke. Just then, the countdown reached 1, and the robotic voice made a final confirmation. Please confirm whether your name is Kui Hua Family's Pickled Cabbage 1213. Mu Yang broke out in a cold sweat and promptly said, Yiliang Chen, my name in Tianguang ruins is Yiliang Chen. There was a moment of silence in her mind, then she faintly heard a hurried robotic voice, matching words detected, beginning identity verification. After a long beep sound, Mu Yang saw that the black hole around her seemed to be pulled by something and violently rotated. When Mu Yang was a little nervous, the voice rang out again. She didn't know why, but Mu Yang felt that there was a trace of excitement in the originally robotic and dull voice. Verification successful. Hello, first host. Please confirm again whether you want to use the name, Yiliang Chen? First host. Mu Yang was baffled. Wasn't she called a guest in the beginning? How did it suddenly become the first host? But she didn't think about it and directly said, confirm. Hihi, although the name Yiliang Chen is very strange, it's still much better than Kui Hua Family's Pickled Cabbage 1213. Host, please choose your appearance in Tianguang ruins. Do you want to increase, or decrease? The minimum increase is 0%, and the maximum is. Sorry, host, your appearance cannot be increased. The minimum decrease is 1%, and the maximum decrease is 200%. As soon as the mechanical voice falls, a huge mirror appears in front of Mu Yang. The mirror reflects Mu Yan's devastatingly beautiful face. Mu Yan doesn't even think about it and directly says, lower it by 100%. As soon as he finished speaking, the beautiful face in the mirror changed rapidly. The eyebrows were still the same eyebrows, the nose was still the same nose, and the mouth was still the same mouth. But with just a slight change in the distance of her laughter, she gradually changed from a beautiful and enchanting woman to a delicate and ordinary woman. Mu Yang looks at this face that is both like her and not like her. It's extremely rare. He walked around the mirror for a long time before he confirmed it with a smile. In the next moment, Mu Yang felt the world spin, and his entire body felt the weightlessness of falling from a high place. It was as if she could faintly hear that mechanical voice, carrying a trace of emotion, ringing in her ears. First host. Wake up soon. I await your return, Shoshen continent, polar domain. My lord, this old man has a way to let you see Miss Jun. Chapter 999. Di Mingju abruptly opens his eyes, his figure already appearing in front of Elder Chang in a flash. Speak. His expression is still grave and stern, and the voice that comes out is also calm. But just by looking at his clenched fists and the bulging veins on the back of his hands, one can see how agitated he is at the moment. Elder Chang takes a deep breath, then looks up and says, Tianguang ruins, it's the Tianguang ruins of the Shoshen continent, Tianguang ruins? Di Mingju is slightly startled. But before he can speak, a person suddenly rushes in from outside the soul cultivation house. Jun Shong, Tianguang ruins is the territory of the Nether Realm. How can you risk your life for a woman alone? Elder Chang, have you gone senile? The person who comes in is Xing Lang. At this time, he can no longer hide his disgust for Mu Yan. His whole person is like a wild beast that has passively invaded its territory, revealing a malevolent and fierce expression. However, the next moment, he meets Di Mingju's cold and gloomy eyes. Xing Lang quivers from head to toe, falling to his knees with a thud, his body trembling uncontrollably. Jun Shong, this subordinate has spoken rudely, I beg for your forgiveness. But this subordinate is only worried about your safety. You really can't go to Tianguang ruins. As soon as you enter, the people of the Nether Realm will certainly be able to sense the fluctuations of your divine soul. If they strangle you in the Tianguang ruins. Thinking of such consequences, Xing Lang's eyes turn red. Once again, he wishes that he could dismember the woman who has disturbed Jun Shong's mind time and time again, even injuring Jun Shong, causing Jun Shong to put himself in danger. Elder Chang coughs lightly. This subordinate naturally knows that Tianguang ruins is the territory of the Netherrealm, so I didn't dare to raise such an idea at first. But now, the situation is different. Elder Chang raises his head, his face full of excitement and disbelief. Jun Shong, you also know that Tianguang ruins originally didn't belong to the Nether Realm. Before it belonged to the Nether Realm, it was far more powerful than it is now, and it is connected to even more karmic space-time. If it was before, as long as Jun Shong's divine soul comes into contact with the Tianguang ruins, it would certainly be discovered by the people of the Nether Realm. However, I just discovered that there were some changes in the skylight ruins of the cultivation continent. 2 karmic spacetime zones were opened. My lord, although you can't enter with your main body and primordial spirit, as long as I find a way to disguise you, and then pass through the 2 karmic spacetimes that the Netherworld realm can't control, you will definitely be able to return safely. Everyone knew that people from the cultivation continent would enter the Tianguang ruins. If Jun Shong enters Tianguang ruins, will you still be afraid of not being able to see Miss June? Oh, entering the Heaven Light ruins, which was the territory of the Netherrealm, would naturally be dangerous. But isn't it better than Jun Shong not caring about anything else and not waiting for his injuries to recover? Isn't it better than leaving the soul-nurturing house? Not to mention that the Polar Domain and the Nether Domain had been at peace for several hundred years. Elder Chang didn't believe that even if they found Jun Shong, they wouldn't have the guts to hurt him and start a war between the 2 regions. Star Wolf wanted to say something. But Di Ming-ju has already made his decision. Immediately prepare the Jade Key for Ben Jun. He would be able to see Yang Yang soon. Di Ming-ju's hand slightly tightens, his ice-blue eyes brightening with a bright light. The Star Wolf gritted his teeth and could only retreat hatefully in the end. Chapter 1000. Di Ming-ju snorts. Ben Jun being able to charm Yang Yang, isn't that a matter of course? By the way, Jun Shong, this subordinate heard that when entering Tianguang ruins, you can also adjust your appearance. Would you like this subordinate to make you more handsome and more beautiful? Di Ming-ju sends a cold knife glare over. Ben Jun's appearance needs to be adjusted. No need, no need. Elder Chang shivers in fright and shakes his head again and again. Jun Shong, your handsome appearance is unparalleled in the world, your graceful bearing is unparalleled. How could a mere Tianguang ruins make you more handsome? You're clearly the most handsome in the world. Otherwise, how could Miss Jun be so infatuated with you? Di Ming-ju coldly lifts his foot and directly kicks him out. After kicking the man out, his cold and stern face finally revealed a trace of a happy smile. Yang Yang, Ben Jun can finally see you. Bang! Muyan doesn't know how long she has been falling, before she heavily falls to the ground. She clearly fell from such a high place, but she doesn't feel the slightest bit of pain. It's just that her head is still a little dizzy. After a long while, chattering sounds come to her ears from all directions. Is this little girl's first time coming to Tianguang ruins? A gentle voice comes to her ears. Don't be afraid, haha, whoever comes here for the first time wouldn't be thrown in this rebirth square. Look at this little girl, she's already 20 years old, but it's her first time entering Tianguang ruins. How pitiful. Sigh, look at her appearance. Even after 100% adjustment, it's still this lackluster appearance. How unsightly is her appearance? TSK, she must be an ugly monster in reality. Let's stay away, stay away. The chattering sounds come to Muyan's ears. She looks up and is stunned by the bustling scene in front of her. Rows upon rows of luxurious houses come into view, as well as streets and squares that are so clean and tidy that they're almost spotless. 8 or 9 out of 10 people walking on the streets and squares are handsome men and beautiful women. Each and every one of them is in high spirits and full of heroic bearing, forming a beautiful landscape. At a glance, these people's appearances can be seen to have been adjusted. Muyan even sees with her own eyes that a handsome young man, after eating a spirit fruit, throws the peel to the ground. In the blink of an eye, the peels disappeared without a trace. The reincarnation square, where she was, had the most people gathered. Most of the cultivators were focused on one spot. In the center of the reincarnation square was a towering tower that pierced through the clouds. At the top of the pagoda, there were huge screens hanging on all 4 sides, which were currently broadcasting the sparks flying between the cultivators. Ah, Mr. Yun Xiao. Young Master Yun Xiao. He's so cool. I'm going to faint. Young Master Yun Xiao, I really want to see his face up close. Even if I have to work like an ox or a horse for him, I'm willing. Boohoo tilde thank you, Senior Zhao, empty cry sword. If he hadn't challenged young Master Yun Xiao and asked someone to use the photographic talisman, we wouldn't have been able to see young Master Yun Xiao's celestial appearance so clearly. Mu Yang also looked up, only to see that on the screen, two figures, one black and one white, were fighting, sometimes intersecting, sometimes separating. Finally, a resplendent ray of light exploded between the two of them. The black figure retreated in a sorry state. Finally, he managed to stand up and spit out a mouthful of blood. Chapter 1001. A cool breeze blew by, and it fluttered his silky black and smooth long hair to reveal a pitilessly handsome face that seemed capable of stealing one's soul away. Long live young Master Yun Xiao. Young Master Yun Xiao will win. Mu Yang is slightly startled. It's actually an old acquaintance. The peerless and charming youth in white before her, the young Master Yun Xiao that everyone is shouting about, is actually the handsome man who was forced by Jiang Xinyu to marry that day in the Mirror Moon Mountain range. She didn't expect him to be so powerful. If it was Mu Yang in this battle projected on the screen, she probably wouldn't even have the chance to take one move from him. TSK, with this kind of skill, Jiang Xinyu actually wanted to force him to marry her that day. Isn't this daydreaming? Perhaps this young Master Yun Xiao could destroy the entire mountain-breaking sect with a casual flick of his finger. Suddenly, Mu Yang remembers the titles of those books she read in the bookstore in Qinglu City. Something like 2 or 3 things that must be said between me and young Master Yun Xiao, something like those years young Master Yun Xiao pursued me. It turns out that young Master Yun Xiao is this young Master Yun Xiao. Looking at his restrained and refined appearance, she didn't expect him to be a dissolute young master, having an affair with so many female cultivators at the same time. Mu Yang smilingly looks at the handsome man on the screen, gossiping inwardly for a while, before turning to leave the reincarnation square. Walking through the entire Tianguang ruins, Mu Yang is increasingly amazed. Because this Tianguang ruins really is like a real small world. There were shops selling goods, restaurants for drinking and eating, and even a brothel, a casino, and a theater. Because only one's divine sense enters Tianguang ruins, the so-called drinking and eating, seeking pleasure, of course it's impossible to really eat things into one's stomach, or really profane those beauties in drunken pleasure square. But Mu Yang tries to buy a bottle of the most common fruit wine with a low-grade crystal stone. As the fruit wine enters her throat, her tongue truly feels the mellow fragrance of the wine. Even if she drinks too much, her body will feel warm. Even if everything here isn't real, the enjoyment that cultivators get inside is real. It's no wonder that Tianguang ruins is so prosperous. Map. She whispers, and a panoramic view of Tianguang ruins quickly appears in front of her eyes. The entire Tianguang ruins was circular. The lower 3 districts where Mu Yang is located are at the outermost layer of the circle and have the largest area. The upper 3 zones and middle 3 zones, which were closer to the center, were now gray, which meant that she couldn't enter these 2 zones. Mu Yang remembered eldest brother's instructions and softly said, "My shop." Very quickly, a red mark appeared on the map, flashing. This was the location of the Xiao Yarrow School's shop. Tianguang ruins was truly too mystical. Mu Yang followed the markings on the map while studying the other functions of the Tianguang ruins. For example, her popularity points were currently at 0 because she had not completed a single transaction. No one else knew her either. When he opened the inventory, there was only a crystal and a stack of talisman papers. Mu Yang played along the way and soon arrived in front of a shop. The sizes of all the shops in Tianguang ruins were almost the same. Only the degree of brightness of the signboards differed. Chapter 1002. The signboards of those shops that weren't doing well were dark and dull. Even if they were in the same row of streets, it would be very difficult to find them. Mu Yang raises her head to look at her own sect's shop. The first thing she sees is a plaque that is dusty, as if it has accumulated dust for 10,000 years. Following that is the name of the shop that is almost covered in dust. Lousy is number 1 under heaven. The corner of Mu Yang's mouth twitches, and twitches again. It would be strange if anyone would come to such an infuriating shop name. There's no need to ask, this is definitely the work of fourth sister Lang Yumor. It's no wonder that she had negative popularity points and was blacklisted by Tianguang ruins. Mu Yang turns her wrist and says key. A key that looks almost exactly the same as Tianguang ruins' jade key appears in her palm with a flash. Even though she doesn't have any expectations for this shop. But when she opens the door and sees the scene inside, Mu Yang is still speechless. The whole shop is empty, not even a shelf. The only thing that can be seen is a broom hanging on the wall. The broom is also marked with 1 low-grade crystal. Mu Yang, who the hell would buy this damn broom? Announcement, district announcement. Tianguang Ruins certified user, Yin Xiu, has issued a district announcement, purchasing healing talismans and replenishing spirit talismans at a high price. Any shop in the upper, middle, and lower districts can participate. This announcement is valid for an hour, now announcing the talisman purchasing locations in the upper, middle, and lower districts. The lower districts, Mu Yang is thinking about how to open the shop and sell the talismans in her hands. The sudden mechanical sound in her mind startles her. When she hears what the mechanical voice says, Mu Yang can't help but laugh. This is really a pillow when you're dozing off. No matter who this Yin Xiu is, she doesn't have to worry about whether she can sell the talismans in her hands as soon as possible. Mu Yang quickly rushes to the place to purchase talismans according to the announcement. She has already arrived fast enough, but she didn't expect that there would already be a long queue here. The people in the queue are still discussing excitedly. Yin Xiu, is it that master refiner Yin Xiu? I heard that a few years ago, he had just advanced to a rank 9 spiritual tool master. Refiner Yin Xiu, who is certified by Tianguang Ruins. Besides this master, who else? Don't forget that Tianguang Ruins certification has never been wrong. It's a pity that the healing amulet I have is only a 2nd grade healing amulet. I'm afraid that even if I offer it up, it won't be able to enter the great master's eyes. Haha, it just so happens that our shop bought quite a lot of talismans recently. I'll give them to you right away. Mu Yang's face darkens all of a sudden. The announcement says that all talismans with healing and replenishing functions are accepted, and all talismans in the upper, middle, and lower districts are allowed to participate. Where did it say that 1-star shops can't participate? Or could it be that the Yin family wants to go back on their word and not keep their word? As soon as Mu Yang's last words come out, the fat steward chokes. The announcement did not state that the 1-star shops would not accept talismans. If he went back on his word now, it would harm the reputation of the Yin family and Yin Xiu. The fat manager took a deep breath and sneered, "Fine, I want to see what kind of talisman you can take out." Chapter 1004. As he spoke, he threw out 10 pieces of low-grade crystal stones. These crystal stones, I'll treat them as a beggar, take them and leave quickly. Mu Yan doesn't even glance at the 10 pieces of low-grade crystal that he throws out. Instead, he leisurely took out a thick stack of talismans from the warehouse and slapped them on the table. In an instant, the surrounding area fell into complete silence. How can there be so many talismans? There must be more than 50 of them, right? My shop has been collecting talismans for a year, but I haven't even collected 20. Could it be that these talismans are fake? It's not working at all. The fat manager suddenly came to his senses. He frowned. Don't think that you can fool us with a few pieces of talisman paper. As he spoke, he took a piece of talisman paper and placed it on the testing stone. Beep. The testing stone lit up, displaying the light of a first pin. The fat manager sneered. Is this the only real talisman in this stack of talismans? Moreover, he was a rank 1. Hair. Then, he picked up the second one, the third one, drip, 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 drip. One talisman after another was placed on the testing stone, and each talisman made a sound of verification. The fat manager's expression changed from one of complacency to one of shock. Even if it's a first-grade talisman, isn't this too much? Moreover, after the 35 first-grade talismans, what the testing stone displayed next was no longer a first-grade talisman, but a second-grade talisman. There was another long beeping sound. The fat manager's forehead was already dripping with sweat. A whole 15 pieces of second-grade jinxia. There was one last talisman left. With trembling hands, the fat manager placed the talisman on the testing stone. Beep! The radiance on the testing stone was twice as bright as before. It turned out to be a third-grade talisman. Third-grade talisman. There aren't many third-grade talismans in the entire Lower 3 district. Moreover, she even took out 35 first-grade talismans and 15 second-grade talismans. The last talisman that was tested to be of the third grade made even Mu Yang reveal a surprised expression. This was because she had accidentally drawn the wrong talisman when she was drawing the second-grade healing talisman. At that time, she had already drawn the last few strokes. Mu Yang was a little reluctant to waste a talisman just like that. In her impatience, she instinctively mobilizes the Tianmo Qin within her body. Using the sound of the zither to control the cinnabar brush, he forcefully corrected the wrong talisman pattern. After the talisman was formed, the talisman patterns on it seemed a little strange. It was different from the template left by the youngest Uncle Master. Mu Yang originally thought that this talisman should be a little inferior to an ordinary second-grade talisman. He didn't expect that not only was it not bad, it actually directly became a third-grade talisman. The fat manager's facial muscles kept twitching. Thinking of the words he just said to ridicule Mu Yan, he feels that his face hurts a little. Mu Yang takes a step forward, lifts her foot, and gently hooks it. The two crystals that the fat steward threw to her were thrown back in front of him. Mu Yang looks at him with a smile that is not a smile. Now, can I pay the bill? Oh, that's right. For the sake of the steward's hard work in verifying more than 50 of my talismans, these 10 low-grade crystal stones will be considered as a reward for you. Mu Yang didn't say the words a beggar out loud. But compared to what the fat steward had just said, everyone immediately understood the meaning of her words. Chapter 1005. The fat steward's complexion alternates between green and white. He only feels that everyone's mocking eyes are falling on him. As the Yin family's steward, purchasing talismans, what kind of glory is that? What kind of fawning upon him? When has he ever suffered such humiliation? The fat steward wants to get angry, but is pulled by his subordinate, Steward Wang. In a moment, Manager Yin will come over to inspect and collect the talismans. If the manager sees this and makes a fuss, it won't be good. Steward Wang's heart shudders. Even if he's gnashing his teeth in hatred, he can only restrain his resentment and give the crystals to Mu Yang. Because the Yin family is purchasing talismans at a high price, the price is higher than the market price. A first-grade talisman costs 5 low-grade crystals, a second-grade talisman costs 20 low-grade crystals, and a third-grade talisman costs 100 low-grade crystals. 575 low-grade crystals. Steward Wang takes out his jade key and touches it with Mu Yang's jade key. With a cold face, he transfers the 570 crystals. Okay, the bill has been settled, get out of here. Mu Yang glances at the information in her jade key, ensuring that more than 500 crystals have been transferred to her account. With a slight smile, she takes out 10 low-grade crystals from the inventory space and throws them in front of Steward Wang. This lady said, "This is a reward for you. Take it, no need to thank me." Saying that, she doesn't wait for Steward Wang to get angry and leaves in front of everyone's eyes. Steward Wang's nose is crooked from anger, especially when he sees the 10 low-grade crystals rolling in front of him. The sparkling light of the crystals is like the girl's mocking smile. Steward Wang, we still haven't registered that woman's information. The higher-ups have repeatedly instructed that they must register every shop's information. It's mainly so that if there's a need in the future, they can directly contact the shop that supplies good goods, instead of having to make a district announcement like now. Register my ass. Steward Wang fiercely slaps his subordinate's hand, gritting his teeth and saying, could this kind of trash one-star shop's things catch Master's eye? Saying that, he casually throws the dozens of talismans into the inventory and loudly yells, "Next." The subordinate hesitates for a moment, but finally feels relieved. What Steward Wang said was right. No matter how many talismans a one-star shop in the lower 3 districts took out, how could it possibly attract the Master's attention? It had to be known that there were countless people in the upper and middle districts who wanted to curry favor with the Lord and gain his appreciation with high-grade talisman. 2 hours was a very short time. Very quickly, the Yin clan's purchase of talismans neared the end. Alright, today's purchase is over. Everyone can go back. When Steward Wang saw that it was almost time, he immediately waved his hand to chase everyone away. Ah, how can this be? It's clearly not time yet. I've been queuing for an entire hour. I'm begging you, please take the talismans from our shop. Steward Wang repeatedly waved his hand, as if he was shooing away flies. I won't accept it, I won't accept it, it's just some trash talismans from the lower 3 districts. No matter how many I accept, it's impossible for Master to take a fancy to them. Hurry up and get lost for me. Everyone was indignant, but because of Steward Wang's status, they dared not say anything. At this moment, a beautiful girl in white suddenly ran out of the crowd. Chapter 1006. But, I've admired Senior Yin Xiu since I was young. When I heard that he was injured, I was really worried and worked hard to draw up healing talismans. I came late. I beg you, can you give my talismans to Master Yin Xiu? I don't mind even if I don't want crystal stones. As she spoke, the crowd saw 2 sparkling tears fall from the girl's eyes, making her look even more pitiful. If Mu Yang was here, she would recognize her immediately. This pitiful beauty was none other than Liu Ruoxuan, who she had a conflict with at the Windless Plaza. Moreover, it was the Liu Ruoxuan who had changed her appearance and became even more lovable. Even the insufferably arrogant Steward Wang softened his voice slightly under her sweet and soft voice. You can draw talismans yourself? What's your name? There were many talismans collected in the Tianguang ruins. But those who could draw talismans themselves were extremely rare. Liu Ruoxuan said shyly, I am Bing Ruo Wu. I am here to present the talismans on behalf of the Earth-Shattering shop. I just learned how to draw talismans, so I'm not good at it. I hope Manager Wang won't mind. The Earth-Shattering shop? Isn't that the shop of the mountain-breaking sect? Manager Wang was also very surprised. You are a disciple of the mountain-breaking sect? Liu Ruoxuan waved her hand modestly. I just became the disciple of the mountain-breaking sect's peak Lord Jiang. I haven't held the formal ceremony yet. I'm not a disciple of the mountain-breaking sect yet. Heh. Someone inhaled sharply. You're actually Elder Jiang's disciple. That Elder Jiang is the peak lord of the mountain-breaking sect's heavenly fire peak. Hearing the crowd's exclamations, Liu Ruoxuan's expression became slightly awkward, but she quickly hid it. In reality, the incident at the Windless Plaza had caused Jiang Dahai to dislike her, whose reputation had been ruined. After much difficulty, she managed to curry favor with the senior brothers in the sect, but because of this, she also offended the senior sisters. On the way back to the mountain-breaking sect, for some reason, the spiritual beast Golden-Winged Rock suddenly went crazy and threw them all into the swamp. The senior sisters of the mountain-breaking sect blamed Liu Ruoxuan's fate, and that she would affect the luck of the mountain-breaking sect. The group finally returned to the mountain-breaking sect, but Liu Ruoxuan was exiled. Jiang Dahai did not ask her to go through the ceremony of becoming his disciple, nor did he have the intention to let her enter the inner sect. She was like an outsider who didn't know what to do in the mountain-breaking sect. She was even looked down upon by her senior sisters. Especially Jiang Dahai's daughter, Jiang Xinyu, who wanted to humiliate her all the time. Fortunately, Those senior brothers took great care of her and even brought her to Tianguang ruins to relax. Unexpectedly, Liu Ruoxuan happened to hear that Master Yin Xiu wanted to buy talismans. That was Tier 9 spirit weapon Master Yin Xiu. On the entire cultivation continent, how many people wouldn't know and yearn for it? Liu Ruoxuan's thoughts surged. She quickly returned to reality and retrieved all the talismans she had drawn before rushing back. Although he knew it was impossible. But what if her talisman was appreciated by Senior Yin Xiu? At that time, would her situation be completely changed? Thinking of this, Liu Ruoxuan's eyes lit up. She looked at Steward Wang with worship and longing. Steward brother, you look like a dignified and elegant person. I think only a person of virtue and prestige like Master Yin can be served by someone like you. Chapter 1007. Now that he heard this beautiful young lady praising him, calling him manager, and looking at him with admiration, he felt as if he was walking on air. He smiled as he took the talisman from Liu Ruoxuan's hand and placed it on the testing stone. Out of the 10 talismans, 7 were of the first grade, and only 3 were of the second grade. The light emitted by the testing stone is also far inferior to Muyan's talisman. However, Steward Wang smiled and said, with your age and cultivation, it's already very rare for you to be able to draw such a high-quality talisman. Liu Ruoxuan's eyes lit up. Really? Elder brother Steward, you're not lying to me, right? My biggest wish in this life is to see Master Yin's heavenly face, even though I know this wish is impossible to achieve. However, Shonga is already very happy to be able to present the talisman that I personally drew to Master Yin. Brother housekeeper, you don't know how grateful I am to you. Steward Wang's bones turned soft after being called Brother Steward. He squeezed out a gentle smile on his plump face and said, I've collected so many talismans in the 3 lower districts, and Miss Ming Wu's talisman is of the best quality. Don't worry, Miss Ming Wu, I will definitely convey your intentions to Master Yin. When the subordinate at the side heard this, he couldn't help but curl his lips. This Steward Wang is lying through his teeth. The quality of that young lady's talisman is much better than this one. Moreover, it's a 3rd-grade talisman. He actually said that the quality of this dancing icicle's charm was the best. The meeting hall of the Xiao Yarrow School. Junior sister has been gone for more than 2 hours, and she still hasn't come back. Looks like those talismans can't be sold. Sigh, it's normal that we can't sell them. No matter how good junior sister's talismans are, our shop's popularity is too low. No one will come to buy them. If I go to other shops to sell, I'll have to pay a lot of storage fees. Luo Yu held her cheeks and sighed faintly. With the storage fees, we can buy an entire wind spirit spore. Slurp Tilda Lang Yumore slapped the table. Little junior sister, if we can't sell it this time, we'll go to the bazaar to sell it. We'll set off tomorrow morning. Before he could finish his words, the door was pushed open with a bang. Muyan saunters in. Junior sister, you're back? What about Tianguang ruins? Is it fun? How are the talismans selling? Did you sell 5 of them? Mu Yang shook her head. Sigh, it's fine even if I can't sell it. Yun Ruahan patted her shoulder. Tomorrow, senior apprentice brother will go to the market to sell them. These are precious talismans, you can definitely sell them for a good price. Little junior sister, don't blame yourself. You are already very, very powerful. Mu Yang interrupts them with a smile. Eldest senior brother, second senior brother, I didn't just sell 5 of them, I sold all of them. As she spoke, she flipped her hand and took out the jade key. Then, she used her divine sense to explore it. The next moment, clatter, clatter, all the low-grade crystals were poured out. In an instant, they piled up into a small hill on the table. The room fell into a strange silence. Spar stones, why are there so many spar stones? Luo Yu exclaimed, little senior sister, these were all obtained by selling talismans. Mu Yang smiled and nodded, I sold all the talismans. Chapter 1008. Oh, we finally have meat to eat. Luo Yu smiles and pounces on top of the crystal, rolling around happily. Even Yun Ruohan is indescribably happy. How can it be exchanged for so many crystal stones? Mu Yang tells them about Yin Xiu buying healing talismans and supplementing spirit talismans at a high price. Fortunately, the 2 talismans that Master Yin Xiu wants, Junior Martial Uncle left behind the drawing method. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to earn so many crystal stones in one go. Mu Yang picks up a crystal stone and tosses it, feeling somewhat regretful. It's a pity that Junior Martial Uncle only left the drawing method for 1st and 2nd grade crystal stones. If we could draw 3rd grade talismans, we would really make a fortune. A 3rd grade talisman is worth 100 low grade crystal stones. The faces of the Xiao Yarrow sect people twitch. They drew 200 or 300 talismans, but they couldn't draw a talisman. But in the eyes of their junior martial sister, drawing a 3rd grade talisman was as simple as eating and sleeping. People really can't be compared with each other. Lung Yumor waves her hand, full of pride. Ha ha ha, no matter what, we have crystal stones now. Tomorrow morning, we will go to the market to buy a lot of meat. 6th senior martial sister, 6th senior martial sister, I want to buy a velvet doll, as big as a person. I've had my eyes on it for a long time, but I don't have crystal stones to buy it. Luo Yu holds her face and looks at Mu Yang expectantly. This concubine's rouge, face powder, and silk satin have not been replenished for a long time. Ling Yusheng strokes her hair, flirtatiously saying with a bit of pride. Chu Moli says with a matter-of-fact expression, I want to buy paint. Shi Qing pounces over and hugs Mu Yang. Yang, my good disciple, don't mind these guys, Master's wine is the most important. Mu Yang presses her forehead, dizzy from their quarrel. Buy all of them, is that not enough? She divides the crystal stones on the table into 8 portions. Apart from eldest senior martial brother Yun Ruohan who gets the most, everyone else, including herself, gets the same amount of crystal stones. Tomorrow, everyone will go to the market together and buy what they want. In addition to buying what they want, eldest senior martial brother will also help you buy daily necessities. Are you satisfied? After Mu Yang finished speaking, she raised her head and saw a room full of people looking at her with tears in their eyes. What's wrong? She felt goosebumps all over her body as she was being stared at by his gaze. Little junior sister, you're the best. No one has ever been so nice to us. Woo, in the past, little martial uncle only made sure that we had enough to eat, and didn't even provide us with crystal stones for cultivation. 6th senior sister, you actually allow us to buy things we like. Little junior sister is the best. Shi Qing threw his head back and laughed heartily, his expression indescribably proud. This is all thanks to Master's discerning eyes for finding such a good seedling. Ha ha ha, I have good taste. Now this old man finally has wine to drink. Muyan was about to say something when Luo Yu had already pounced on her and hugged her. He was so moved that he cried and laughed at the same time, wiping his snot and tears on her body. Mu Yang's whole body trembled. Seeing that Qin Ju and Lung Yumor were about to pounce on her, she made a prompt decision and ran away in a flash. Lung Yumor missed and looked extremely unhappy. Xiao Qi, it's all your fault. You scared my junior sister away. Chapter 1009. On the side, Yun Ruohan couldn't help but chuckle when she saw them fighting like a rooster. Then, she looked in the direction of Muyan's departure, her expression softening slightly. This junior sister is pretty good. Chu Moli smiled lightly, his fingers gently stroking the armrest of the wheelchair, and said in a low voice, it's still too early to say whether she's good or not. Ling Yusheng touched the embroidered pouch on his waist, and lowered his eyes to hide the light in the bottom of his eyes. Tianguang Ruins, Upper 3 Districts. While Muyan and the others were discussing what to buy tomorrow, talismans were being sent to the Yin family's residence in Tianguang Ruins. Tianguang Ruins allowed people to buy residences. Not only was it expensive, but it also required a huge amount of popularity. It wasn't something that anyone could buy if they wanted to. In an antique bedroom, a middle-aged man in his 40s was lying on the bed, coughing softly from time to time. He had a gentle appearance, but his complexion was very pale, and his lips were a greenish purple. This person was the famous master refiner Yin Xiu in the Shozhen continent. At this time, he was holding a talisman in his hand. He operated his spiritual power, and the talisman immediately burned. A vigorous spiritual power poured into his body. When the talisman burned out, Yin Xiu slowly exhaled. His originally pale complexion seemed to be a little better. The chief steward, who was serving him at the side, happily said, "Master, these talismans are indeed useful for your injuries. They don't accumulate pill toxins like elixirs. Unfortunately, the number of high-grade spirit-replenishing talismans and healing talismans that can be collected is really too little. In the Shozhen continent, elixirs below the 6th grade would generally accumulate pill poison in the body after taking them. The more they took, the more serious the accumulated pill poison would be. In the end, it would even corrode the cultivator's spiritual root, and from then on, their cultivation would advance instead of retreating. However, there were too few elixirs above the 6th grade, and Yin Xiu was seriously injured this time. He couldn't wait to find elixirs above the 6th grade, so he issued an urgent purchase notice in Tianguang ruins. Now it seemed that although the healing effect of this talisman was not as good as that of elixirs, it was still effective. In any case, Yin Xiu's life was saved. However, the talismans above the 4th grade collected this time have all been used up. The remaining ones are all low-grade talismans below the 3rd grade. Master, why don't I raise the price and go? There's no need. Yin Xiu waved his hand and said weakly, "Bring me the talismans below the 3rd grade first." When the supervisor heard this, he hastily ordered someone to bring over the box containing the low-level talismans. The effects of 1st and 2nd grade talismans were far inferior to high-grade talismans. Yin Xiu burned 3 sheets in a row, but his expression did not change in the slightest. He could not help but shake his head regretfully. Sure enough, the effect of a low-grade talisman and a high-grade talisman couldn't be compared. However, the drawing of talismans was different from refining medicine. The most important thing wasn't inheritance and practice, but talent. In addition, the effects of the talismans could not be compared to the pills. Therefore, the number of talisman masters was far less than that of alchemists. It was hard to even find a low-level symbol master, let alone a high-level symbol master. Even in a place like Tianguang ruins, which was full of talents, the Yin clan had only received a few dozen high-level talismans of grade 4 and above. While thinking, Yin Xiu picked up the next talisman. This was a 1st-grade talisman, and it didn't look any different from other replenishing spirit talismans. But when the talisman burned, Yin Xiu felt a wave of pure spiritual power flowing into his body. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.